up for me. I got you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to VR Verdict Podcast, episode 127. I'm PJ.
I'm Wookie.
And I'm Anthony, developer of Bocce Time.
How's it going, man?
I'm doing great. How you guys doing?
Good.
PJ.
It is so bizarre we finally get to talk to you because I reached out very early June before the game came out, and we kind of chatted, and then I'm like,
Yeah.
Let's get you scheduled, and we were booked so long in advance. It's like, come on.
Yeah, I almost forgot about it. And then you messaged me a few days ago. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that was even going on. That'll be cool.
Yeah. But I've sat in one of your interviews with Let's Talk Oculus podcast. I was the cameraman for them when you were talking to them.
Yeah, I remember you.
So that was fun.
There's a floating camera in the background.
So, to start off, why don't you just tell us a little bit about Bocce Time and how that came to be, and we'll just go from there.
And
Sure.
maybe explain what bocce is, because aside from one word in Family Guy, I'd never really heard of it.
Yeah, that's fair. A lot of people, I think, are unfamiliar with it. I didn't even know about it myself until there was a game that came out on the PlayStation Move back in the day that introduced me to it. I had no idea what it was before that. But bocce, I'll start with what bocce is first, right? Which is, it's a really simple game where players throw out a smaller ball called a jack or a polino, and then two teams take turns trying to get their respective balls as close to it as possible. It's kind of like horseshoes or cornhole or something like that.
Yep,
But you can get multiple points. Yeah, you can get multiple points depending on how many balls you get closest to it. And that's basically it. There's not really much to it. It's pretty simple. It's just there's a lot of skill that's involved with your throwing technique and how accurate you can get, how close you can get it to it, or applying spin, stuff like that to get it around obstacles. And I have a bunch of, in Bocce Time, I have a bunch of different like sort of novelty courts that you could play on. So there's the standard court, which is basically just a long straight box that's just about trying to get the right power and get the angle right when you throw it. And then there's other ones where it's like tires stacked on top of each other to try to throw it through, or like there's one kind of looks like a mini golf hole where it's sort of this boxy T shape where you can bank it off corners or try to throw it into these triangles, stuff like that. So trying to put a little bit of a twist on it. And the game is pretty much inspired by two other games that I played, which was, I think anyone who's looked at it can see Walkabout had a pretty big impact. Yeah. And then also that game I was talking about where I learned about bocce, which was Sports Champions on the PlayStation Move back in the day. That one had a bocce game, and it did a similar thing where it had a bunch of sort of novelty courts to break up the formula a bit and give you stuff to play on.
Yeah, and there's also a table where like you go up a ramp and land on a table, which is a lot of fun to try and get it to stop.
Yeah, I like that one.
But anyone watching the video here and some of the video in the background, I love how all the courses are in like in a yard or a playground or whatever you want to call it, disconnected, and you can actually free roam all over and look at things. And it's just a nice setup. Like you finish one court, you can all just walk to the next one without any loading or anything like that. It's really neat.
Yeah, I had a decision to make early on whether or not I wanted to do it that way or just have it where it was individual courts, like sort of as their own separate like scenes in Unity where you would load them up individually. But it seemed pretty clear pretty early that it would be a lot better, I think, to have it the way that it is now where you can just freely go between them. And it also opens up when you're playing with your friends, you can actually sort of extend the courts as a result, because you could stand in one court's like throwing area and throw it into a different court, just to try to give yourself that extra challenge of like, oh, I have to throw it over the fountain or whatever it might be. It doesn't work in single player because the bot will be like, what the hell are you doing? But with your friends, it works out pretty well.
Oh, and speaking of your bots, I was kind of, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but I was glad to see that they look like cousins of us, where they're a little white head with, hands and look very similar to what we're doing.
Yeah, that's what you look like in the game too. Yeah, right now.
You dropped the video in when I was setting up, and I didn't even notice the pill head.
Yeah, Everyone's just floating. Everyone's just floating pills with some beady black eyes. It's a good look. I feel like it really embodies at least me as a person.
Yeah.
If you had
And,
given one of those to us for an asset, we could have put like our faces, but it could have been you from your game.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
again, speaking of the AI, I love that if you play the game single player, like they have a pretty good sense of humor. They're kind of mean sometimes, which I love. Kind of tease you a little bit.
Yeah. That's my humor to a T. It's all not super cynical, but just sarcastic. You know.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Great.
But yeah, the game's really neat for many reasons. But you have single player, and then you have up to 4 people with crossplay between Quest and PC, which I always love and enjoy. That's just a great feature for VR. So really great to see that.
Yeah, it was actually a pretty easy thing to implement because I'm using a third-party multiplayer suite called Photon, and it basically handles that for me. So there's not much I have to do. In fact, there's basically nothing I have to do for the crossplay to work. I just have to make 2 different builds. And it seemed like anyone who's worked on a PCVR game can tell you that there's not that much. I mean, there's a pretty good community there, but it's dwarfed completely by the Quest community.
Yeah.
So if you want people on PC to be able to find people to play with, then you're pretty much going to want to make sure that you get the Quest community involved, or it's going to be, they're just going to be stuck with their friends, which is fine. I mean, that's how most people play it, but I'd like for there to be the option for you to just find some random person online to play with.
And I'm a PC VR fanatic. I love the Quest as well, but you can't touch it. But like you said, it's kind of dwindled with the Quest being so popular, which is understandable. But just having that option to not be that isolated is always a great thing. So appreciate that.
Yeah, I play it. When I play the game, I play exclusively on PC myself because that's how I prefer it. Also, it looks a little bit nicer on the PC. Yeah. But I've played it on the Quest also, and there's like a 3-throw adjustment period. Like it feels almost exactly the same, but I know there's just something different between. I use the index controllers on PC and the Quest controllers, so it's like it's pretty close, but it takes me a few balls to like get back into my form.
I was gonna say just blame the controller weight. It's different headset. Yeah. That's all it is, not the game.
Yeah, and I think the controllers have a different like center of mass based on because the touch controllers are so small by comparison, so it's like the ball's like exactly at the center of it, and then the index controller, it's a little bit of an offset, but that's what I'm used to.
Yeah, and it, like I said, I kind of saw you promoting the game before launch, and I was literally, I think I told you this in chat, literally just playing Walkabout with a bunch of friends before that, like the day before. And we were talking, I'm like, why isn't there like a bocce ball game? And the next day I saw you and I'm like, what? Oh, this is freaking awesome.
So you actually knew what bocce was before that? Yeah, I feel like that's my biggest hurdle is like so many people just don't know what it is.
Yeah, it was actually my mother-in-law and like her sister play it a lot. So we play it every couple times every summer, and it's really neat. Like, you throw the little Polino, and then I'm like this in any game.
God damn it! What?
Yeah, Wookie can attest to this. I'm kind of a jackass in any game we play. So like, I'm more about knocking other people's balls away than like getting close to it myself. So
that's fair. I mean, it's a viable strat. It works out pretty well.
Or if I'm the one throwing the Polino, like it's going in that ditch that no one wants to play by, and the whole hole.
Sure.
Yeah.
There's a surprising amount of strategy for just throwing out some balls. Like it's such a simple concept, but there really is. It kind of blows my mind that there's such a like tremendous skill ceiling to it. Because it's like it's not difficult. Like the concept is super easy. Anybody can figure it out. I don't even have a tutorial in the game. I mean, there's like the little bit of text that tells you the rules, but it's like anyone will pretty much figure it out after throwing a few balls. But then when you get to a point where you can start throwing it like really straight lines and you have you're dialed in and you get your power dialed in, it starts to become very competitive. And then you just play. I play it every day. I play for an hour or two pretty much every day with a couple of buddies.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's just a nice, relaxing environment to hang out and with your friends, just like real life, and throw some balls and chat.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what Walkabout sort of taught me. Because before, I've been making VR games for a while now, and my last one was just a single player RPG, and it was like a really long, it's like 16 hours, something like that. But it's a single player thing, right? It's called Vengeful Rites. If anybody wants to check it out, but
I suggested it's good.
thank you. But they're a free demo also on Steam. But it's a single player experience. So while it's really cool, I feel like it doesn't take full advantage of what VR is, right? When I started working on it, I thought it did, because I was like, oh, it's all about these cool uh, interactions you can do with motion controllers and really feeling like you're in the game, putting you in that position. And that's a big part of it. But then when I played Walkabout, and you're just hanging out with friends, just doing something that comes naturally with the motion controls, it elevates it to a whole nother level. It's like the social aspect of it, feeling like even here, us sitting around this table, right? It feels like we're actually sitting around a table talking to each other instead of just sitting at our desks, talking into a mic through a webcam. Maybe like this just
weird.
feels much more natural. Yeah.
I love to hear that, because you wouldn't be we talk to a lot of devs, and most of them say the same thing you just said. But there's always a handful that are like, why don't you just do a Zoom call? Like, because we're VR. No, I don't know.
Yeah, we might as well embrace it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want to just like feel like, oh, I think one of my controllers died. Fair. Well, my right controller's going to hang out right there. It's a good spot for it.
Eternally pointing it.
Yeah.
Watch where you're pointing that thing.
Yeah, if you think I'm pointing at you, I'll do it with the left until that one dies.
So, with the game, like I'm just gonna assume it. You don't have to get specifics, but I'm assuming it does, very well on Quest and mediocre on PC, just because of the client base.
Sort of. It's done better on PC than I expected.
Oh, nice.
Because I didn't have high expectations at all. Like I said, I feel like most people don't know what Bocce is, so I was like, oh, this will probably sell 100 copies and then be dead. But it's done a little better than that. But yeah, the Quest is outperforming it. It's like 2 to 1, almost 3 to 1, I think.
Yeah, I was on vacation for like a week with my wife's family way up north somewhere, and we were playing bocce ball in real time, and I was just getting my ass kicked. But like I said, they play a lot.
Yeah.
So I got sick of that. I'm like, I'm gonna get my Quest out, and I'm just gonna play by myself and kick some ass.
Just play some virtual bocce. Yeah.
What do you look like in VR playing bocce ball? You look like you're cupping. Like,
yep.
If somebody would walk by and see you with a headset on, and you're just
like. Yeah, we were in this little area. There were like all different cabins, and I was sitting on the porch every morning just playing. I think I was playing Moss 2 pretty heavy at the time, and a couple people walked by, and I had like a hoodie on too, and you could see them just stopping, like, what the hell is that guy doing? But then when I was playing bocce kind of out in the open, there was a lot of people were like standing around, like trying to figure out what was wrong with me.
Yeah, it's like years ago when people first started wearing those earpieces for the Bluetooth smartphones, and everyone was like, "Who's he talking to?" And I think he's crazy. This is the next evolution. It's like, what is this dude doing? Like, is he just hallucinating? Once it's a smaller form factor, people will have no idea what's going on.
Yeah. So I was trying to get to a point where, like, so game's been out for 3 months, and
about 2 months now.
2 months?
A little over 2. Mm-hmm.
I kind of know the answer, but I just want to ask anyway. Is it doing well enough where you're going to do some additional content, or?
Oh yeah. I'm I'm working on a second park right now. It's almost completed, in fact. I mean, I have all of the courts are made, and I have them set up in a nice area where you can move freely between them like that. It's a totally separate park, so it won't be in the starting one. It's on a pier at sunset on the beach.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
It's got a cool vibe. I'm really liking it. And but I've got to build up the environment around it, do all the the usual additional work like setting up UI elements and switching between scenes and all that for users to make it an enjoyable experience. but that's coming pretty soon. And then I'll be, as much as I love these pillhead people, I'll be putting in a a character customization setting so people will be able to do all that. Trail, yeah, we got a bunch of different customization options I can go for that I probably will. And there's new balls and everything that come with the courts, because if you don't know, when you beat the bot, you get you unlock different balls depending on the court you beat them and the difficulty you beat them on.
Yeah, that's awesome. Um, I thought you were gonna say something. Sorry. So why don't you go through some of like the options and different features you have? Because it's when you first pop in, you're in this little, not quite a gazebo, but a little shed kind of thing.
Yeah, it's
And you
called a
have all-
pergola, apparently, or a
Oh.
pergola. I don't know. I think gazebo also, but the technical term is, I think, pergola. It's pronounced. I'm not sure, but yeah, it has a bunch of options there in the beginning, and the controls laid out for you, and more coming, more options, because I think options are always a good thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, it just gives you the standard rundown of the different locomotion styles. Teleporter, smooth motion, smooth or snap turning. And then there's some throwing options, so you could switch between what button you want to use to release the ball or how hard you want to throw it. You can amp it up to like 200% or down to 50%. And the spin, you can apply spin to the ball by rotating your wrist when you throw it. And I find that some people, well, most people, would do that unintentionally initially, because in real life, when you throw a ball, rolling it off your fingers is a big part of it. And in VR, that's not really a thing. So there's a little bit of a learning curve to get used to not doing it. But people would do that a lot, and they would end up flicking their wrist a bunch in the motion, and they would apply backspin to the ball unintentionally. So it's off by default, but you could turn it on once you get a little more comfortable, and then start doing more advanced throws, trying to weave the ball through certain ones on the sides or put it around an obstacle, that kind of stuff. Or just backspin. Backspin can be really useful, especially on that ramp court you're talking about, because like if you don't have the power dialed in perfectly, it's pretty easy to go past it. But if you can get some good backspin, you can keep it from rolling off, or even get it to go behind like those triangles or something on the table.
Yeah. And I think if I remember right, you can use either hand to throw, so it's left or right hand, which is a big deal.
Yeah, you got to have that in VR. And you can also just turn off one of your controllers if you want to just play one-handed, because you don't really need two hands for a game like this, right? It's just throwing a ball. So the locomotion becomes a little bit more wonky with turning and moving on the same controller, but it's manageable, especially if you're using teleport.
No. I'm still trying to it still kind of blows my mind that you create such a great game. Like the ball throwing, like I think it's like super good. Like it's really good without ever playing the actual game.
Yeah, that's fair. I've never actually played real bocce, but I think that's a testament to that Sports Champions game I was talking about, because I pretty much just tried to recreate what they did, but in VR, which immediately makes it better, in my opinion, and then also online multiplayer, because it didn't have that. If it had that, I think I would have played it for a really long time, because I was having friends come over all the time with the PlayStation Move just to hang out and play some PlayStation bocce. But yeah, the throwing took a little bit of work. I mean, it wasn't a ton, but it was a fair amount of tweaking just to get it to feel right, or experimenting with different things. And then the biggest part of making the game is naturally going to be the physics of, because the whole game is physics based, right? So it's just trying to get the balls to feel right and like they're doing what they're supposed to do. Because if you're unaware, as I was when I started working on the game, physics in games are all smoke and mirrors. Like it's not actually doing what you think it's doing. Like it's all just a trick. It's a visual trick. It does some of it pretty well by default, but the default physics engines are like NVIDIA physics. They'll get you a good portion of the way, but there's a lot that you end up having to do on your own to actually make it work. You would think a ball rolling would be the simplest thing in the world, and it's not that crazy, but there's a lot more work involved in that than you might originally expect, just to get it to actually roll properly and stop when it's supposed to stop.
Nice. Yeah, when you like I said, I play like a bastard and hit other people's balls. Like it just works really well, and you can, and when you hit it and it goes off, like it just feels like it feels real. It's great. So you nailed
Great.
that.
Good. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm trying to put in, especially with this new park that I'm working on. I had to do a lot of physics reworks because, like I said, since it's all smoke and mirrors, a lot of it was not designed specifically for the first park, but I just got it to a point where it's like it feels good here in this environment. Everything is working the way it's supposed to work, as far as I can tell, except for there's like a little bug where when the ball is like making contact with the wall while on the ground, it'll roll super far. Like it just stops accounting for physics or for friction on both of those obstacles, and it just rolls based on like a default value, which I have corrected now, although it's not updated in the game yet. And a lot of people don't even notice it because, you know, most people don't try to ride the wall because that's kind of boring compared to just putting it in the middle somewhere. But but yeah, in the new park, I've got all new courts, and they have like, you know, concrete floors and different sands and wood planks and stuff that you're playing on. So it's I had to do a bit of tweaking and upgrading to the physics stuff that I had set up so they could handle all of these different things. And now I think I'm in a pretty good spot where any future courts I want to add should just work. I shouldn't have to account for anything more. But you know, we'll see how it goes. You never know until an issue pops up.
Yeah. Kind of interested to see how like a cement floor would react with those. Nice thud and then a
yeah. Well, it bounces. It's got a pretty good bounce to it with these ceramic balls. Not like a huge amount. It's not like it's going to go back up 70% of the height or anything like that. But you could, you know, bounce it over another ball pretty easily, that sort of thing, and it rolls for a long way. So it's more about finesse than really trying to throw your arm into it.
Yeah.
Yep.
The couple actual humans I've played in the game, like I always found that throwing shorter kind of messes with people more because, like you said, finesse, like it takes almost more skill to like get it to where you want it to go in a short area than like the long end of the map.
Yeah, it's two totally different like skill sets. Like you'll see some people have a really straight line on them when they throw it, where they can get it like it's going directly at the Polino every time they throw, but then they just don't have the power management dialed in. So it ends up a couple meters short, or it overshoots by a bit. So it's like it takes a lot of practice to get it to a point where you can do both of those things really consistently. And it's never going to be 100% perfect. If you could get it touching the Polino every time, that'd be a pretty boring game, right? Like the whole game relies on the fact that humans are just inaccurate by design, right? We're not robots. We can't do it exactly the same way every time. So it gets interesting.
Do you have any like lumpy hilly parts coming up?
Sort of. So I have a court that's I have a couple of, well, a lot of what I had to do was based around like ramps, because ramps weren't being handled especially well in the first showing of it, which there hardly are any ramps except for the skee ball one onto the table, which that one worked fine because there's like no friction on it, but anything else, it was problematic. So in this new one, I've got three courts that have like ramps play a pretty prominent role. There's one where it's just like a mound in the middle of it, where you can try to roll it up and get it to stop on top of the mound, or just intentionally roll it around the sides. There's one that's like it's kind of a half pipe with this sort of long beam going down the middle of it to one end. That if you have a straight line, you can get it to roll all the way down to this box at the end of it. If not, it's probably going to fall off to the sides, which are like broken into sections, and then there's half pipes on the sides that you could try to ride it up the walls, or you could try to throw it and just get it to bounce into these different like compartments. And then there's another one kind of like that table court, the ramp court, except this one introduces moving obstacles. There's like a big propeller that's spinning on the opposite side of it, so you have a little bit of a timing element to it, and then the usual stuff behind it.
So you're kind of blending in some mini golf things a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. I'm trying to add. The idea, hopefully, is that every court feels different from the other courts, so you have a reason to play on it. Where they reward different play style. So like the tire court and the starting park is totally different than all of the other ones, right? It's exclusively about just being able to throw it and get it to land where you want reliably instead of relying on roll or trying to hit somebody else's ball. And there's another one kind of like that in the new park where it's literally just a giant sandbox with a bunch of like props and obstacles placed around it where there is no roll, or it might bounce a little bit, but it's pretty much just like beach bocce. You're literally just throwing out the Plino and then just trying to get the next one to land as close to it as possible. It's almost exactly like horseshoes, I guess.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Mixing up the play style and the challenges is awesome.
Yeah, and we have these tournaments that we've been doing in the Discord like every week, and it's interesting there because you'll see people who excel at one aspect of the game and maybe struggle at another aspect, or they're just better with one thing than another. So they have these different options based on that, where they go, oh, we have it where every match is 3 games or best of 3, and I always start on that standard court, which then the loser gets to pick the next court that they play on. And It's interesting. You'll see a lot of people go over to like the tire court after that because they're like, yeah, my rolling game, I don't really have dialed in, but my throwing is pretty good. So I'll try to go over to one that rewards me for that so that I can try to get the edge back in my favor a bit and then maybe get this to a game 3.
That's awesome. I got to sign when you're saying, like, in real life anyway, and I guess VR too, like I can land the ball pretty much where I want to, but it's just getting it to stop where you want it. That's kind of my weak spot. So that sounds awesome.
There's a lot of options there between just how much power you put on it or how high you want to throw it. So like it plops when it lands and loses a bit of energy, or like I said, a lot of people, maybe not a lot, but I've seen a few people play more the traditional way, which is that sort of you overhand it and you give it backspin as you're releasing it. That's like the traditional throwing motion for bocce, which I don't use myself. I do it more like throwing a bowling ball, I guess. But yeah, it's interesting to see people have these different techniques that they use. And even just between the throwing, I was playing the other day with a member of the community, and we were playing on that ramp court, and he didn't have the power really dialed in where he could just get it to stop after rolling up the ramp and slowing. But his approach was he would throw it at the ramp instead of rolling it along it. And it would work. Like it would hit it and then roll up a little bit and stop, but it would lose so much power when it, banged into the ramp that it would actually help him not overshoot it. So it's interesting to see the way people figure out to get what they're trying to get done.
You gotta get Wookiee in there.
At that point, I should probably try it, but at that point, like way back when we were kids, we used to go bowling, and I would bowl sidearm.
That's what I was gonna say.
It's like I was just literally pitching that thing down the thing. And more than one time, I'd hit it in the gutter, and it would pop out and hit a bunch of pins sideways because it had so much spinning force to it. But I could only do it for like 4 frames before my arm was dead.
Yeah,
it would just be like raw power, and then like.
Yeah, you hurt yourself. I mean, my arm's been pretty sore the past couple nights because of the new park I've been playing on it with the buddy, testing things out. And there's
your arm's not
like
moving
I said,
here. It's like dead.
Yeah, it's dead. It's dead. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's we've been going up because, like I was saying earlier, how you can go from one court and throw to another, and a lot of these courts in the new one are larger than they were in the first one. So one of them is it's kind of like that lawn picnic area one, but 2 or 3 times the size maybe. And that's we've been going up to a different court and then trying to throw it to like the back of that one, which is like, I don't know, 70 meters or something like that. Like it's far. And we've been giving our arms quite a workout.
That's awesome. Yeah. I always find it interesting. So in your opinion, because I think maybe we chatted a little after the Let's Talk Oculus one, but you've been a gamer your whole life, correct?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So you've made a couple games now, at least 2 for VR. I don't know if you've made more than that, but
there's a third one. Yeah, I made an escape room game before, Vengeful Rites.
Nice. Do you find that, like, is it more entertaining and more, I guess, fun for you to like create a game and like test out things and stuff than it is playing actual games, or is it kind of like a whole different thing? Or
It actually does. I feel like it trips a lot of the same like dopamine reactions in the brain. It
Sure.
kind of feels almost like playing an MMO. Where like if you ever got really into an MMO, where
Oh yeah.
you get in that mindset, then you probably know you get in the mindset where you're like, all right, I'm going to get off right after I do this thing, right? I just want to, I gotta go to the auction house real quick and check this out.
Yeah.
Oh, and you know what? I might as well just craft this real quick before. Oh, I got to do the daily here. I'll just and just that sort of mindset. I do a lot of that same action with game development, and
Nice.
I mean, I play a lot of games specifically for the challenge of them. That's one of the things that I find to be the most enjoyable in games. So I'm a big, like Dark Souls fan. That's sort of where I like to be challenged and have to come up with a strategy and make it work. And game development works the same way a lot of the time. It's pretty much just setting a goal for yourself and then having to overcome all the various obstacles because there's a ton, and just
Nice.
sort of strategize around what works best and how to do it best, and also plan for the future. There's more like micromanagement, right? Because if you're writing your code well, then it should be modular and scalable so that you can add on to it later without breaking things. So it's like you're not just trying to do the quick, dirty fix. Sometimes you do, which is not ideal, but occasionally it's warranted. But more often than not, you want to try to plan ahead
Yeah.
and
It's
do everything
Tuesday,
as
and you
concise as
thought you'd be
possible.
done coding for the day on Sunday, so you gotta.
Yeah. Sometimes you're just like, I'm never going to touch this again. This is just, I need to do this quick little fix. I'll just throw a check in there real quick, and then it won't be a problem until it is a problem. But I'll deal with it then if it ever comes up. Sometimes that's the play. But it's interesting because the making of a game, especially because I'm a solo developer, it's kind of like playing a single player game that I get really pulled into. And then
Nice.
I find myself when I'm actually playing games, I'm playing multiplayer games more often than not with buddies. So it sort of scratches both itches there. Where it's like, I want to
Nice.
get in and just have this challenge that I have to overcome and figure stuff out, and like be more brain taxing and more like it's almost puzzle based is what it feels like when you're coding, right? It's like, how do I do this? What's the best way to do it? How do I do it in the fewest steps and keep it concise? All that kind of thing. And then I hang out with my buddies. So it's a pretty even split between how I like to spend my time. But there are times on both ways, I guess, where I'm either like, I just want to work on my game for like a week.
Yeah.
Like I've got, some big idea that I really want to get implemented. I know exactly what I want to do. So I'm just going to throw myself at it completely. And the other times where I'm like, I don't really feel like doing anything right now. I'm just going to chill out and game with the boys,
Yeah, and that I think as a gamer, like there must be some kind of rhythm to that because there's always like, oh, I'm really feeling so like single player games. Like I don't want to talk to anyone. I just want to crawl in my hole and play this for a month. And then you're like, I don't feel like playing anything. I just want to hang out with people. So yeah, that's neat.
Yeah, it's interesting. It works the same way. It's like I remember when The Witcher 3 came out. I was like, all right, guys, you're not going to hear from me for a few days. I don't want to be in Discord. I don't want to hear anybody talking while I'm playing this game. I'm trying to get totally into this story. I'll see you in 3-4 days, maybe. We'll see how long it takes for me to beat it. And then other times, you're just like, most days, I'm just sitting in Discord with buddies, and we're going through various game rotations like PGA or Rocket League or whatever it might be.
Nice.
I was just going to ask, what big games might drop that would pull you away from this and make you do a single player game experience? But I was aiming at The Witcher 3, and that's what you said.
Yeah, The Witcher 3 is amazing. When they released The Witcher 4, I'm not totally sure, right, because of what a catastrophe Cyberpunk ended up being. So if they release a Witcher 4, I'm excited, but I'm like, I'm cautiously optimistic. It's not
like,
guaranteed like it used to be.
Yeah, it sounds like they're pulling a No Man's Sky with that. So maybe, it's going to be all right.
They've been doing some good stuff with Cyberpunk. I haven't jumped back to play it yet, but I was the same. Like, I pre-ordered it. I'm like, well, they just got my money done. I don't really try to pre-order games anymore just because that's like, not worth it.
They were one of those
did,
developers.
They were trustworthy.
Yeah, like FromSoft, right? Like FromSoft releases another game tomorrow. I'm buying it sight unseen because I know they make what I like, right? I've never played a game from them and not enjoyed it. So they're the kind that when they put it out, I go, yeah, that'll come. And CD Projekt Red used to be like that too, until Cyberpunk, and now I'm like, they've got a little bit of a spot on their track record now.
And I was sucked into Cyberpunk for a while, like a good couple
Yeah.
weeks, until I started to notice like the NPCs were like breaking down, and then I was like, wait a minute, those pre-launch videos had all this stuff. Where is this
Yeah.
stuff? And then I started noticing the icons had like some of the skills, and they were like not really doing what they said. I'm like, did I make this? Did PJ and I make this game? Because this seems very unfinished. And
Yeah,
I went back and looked, and like everyone is confirming it. I'm like, you bastards! I actually got a refund.
yeah, that sucks. I saw some articles where they had some of the developers talking about what the conditions were like basically when they were working on it, and it was totally unfinished. They were saying how the higher ups basically would come at them and go, "Oh, you guys made The Witcher 3, so you can make anything, right? That's lauded as one of the best games of all time. Like you should be able to knock this out." And they're like, "Yeah, but this is a totally different game. Also, a lot of the people that worked on The Witcher 3 don't even work here anymore. But yeah, give us 2 years, we got it." They're like, "Cool, 6 months." And, and everything's coming out like, excuse me. So I feel bad for him.
That's the hardest thing in that scenario, because I was like, it totally, like it wasn't the actual devs and the people making the game that oversold and promised.
Yeah.
So it's like, I feel so bad for them. I want to support them, but how do I not support the higher ups? Like, God damn it.
Yeah, this just trash hierarchy that forces them to do this stuff and then tries to capitalize on it. It's like you can't win as a consumer, really. I mean, I guess you still try to support them. You do your best, or you keep an eye on it, right? You wish list it. Maybe you rebuy it after some patches and hope that it's come around. But it is a tough situation. That's why I'm glad I'm a solo indie and I don't have to deal with anybody breathing down my neck telling me to get stuff done that I don't want to get done.
But even more than the Cyberpunk's fiasco, that's bothered me personally is, they're going to they did the Witcher 3 upgrade and it was awesome. And then they're planning another one for the Gen 5 consoles.
Upgrade?
And that keeps getting bumped. And that's pissing me off more than the Cyberpunk thing, because I'm ashamed to say this. I've never finished Witcher 3. I was waiting for the upgrades. And then they just keep announcing another upgrade. So it's like, I might as well just wait because it'll be awesome.
Yeah, that's fair. I actually need to get back into it myself because I never played the DLC. I put like 100 hours into the main campaign, and then I did a second playthrough a while back where I put in another like 70, but I stopped again before going to any of the DLC. And I hear it's amazing, and I'm sure that it is, but I just haven't taken the time to jump into it.
I bought both DLC, but I bought it like at least 3 times because like I have the Gwent pack and the Witcher 3 special edition on the Xbox, and each one had like the cards that come with it, and then one PlayStation's one of them had its own set of physical cards. I've got like all these Witcher game things. I've never played any of the DLC, so it's like
nice.
I spent like 100 or 200 hours the first time, and I just like walked everywhere. I never like fast traveled to Skellige. I just sailed back and forth. I'm like, I need a good like 5 years before I redo this, and then now I have the DLC. I'm like,
yeah, you plan out a path along all the different question marks on the map. You go, okay, I got to get back to Novigrad. All right, I'm going to head west, and I'm going to start around here. I'm going to hit these 9 on the way back. And then you just never fast travel, like you said.
Blind and just find half of them, and then I check the map before I can leave the area, and then do a little cleanup swoop.
Yep.
But I spend way too many hours in online games. Like when Assassin's Creed Black Flag came out, like 2013. I didn't try to finish the whole game, but when I beat the game, I had like 99.7 or 97.9% completion. I was like, I need a life.
Sometimes that happens. You get hooked. I mean, I 100%ed Elden Ring. And I played that for way longer than I think I probably should have, because I was that game's a mixed bag for me. I love it. I do think it's a masterpiece, but it's also there's so much in it, and it's like whenever I've played those games, like Dark Souls 3, I'm the kind of person where I'm going to find every single piece of hidden loot, every illusory wall. I'm going to find it all because that's just a big part of my enjoyment for it. And Elden Ring is so massive that you do that, and it took me like 180 hours to complete my first playthrough because I'm like, I'm getting everything. I'm hitting every section of this map. And I did, but it took a long time. And it definitely wore me down by the end of it.
That's awesome. So
great game if you guys haven't played it.
I've played it. It was actually, I think, my first From Software, Dark Souls style game, and
Mhm.
I'm a gamer. I've been playing games forever, and I think I'm pretty good at it. And I love the everything is beautiful. The characters are like I love like what the fuck is that? Like
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
those moments, but it's fucking hard.
Yeah. Elden Ring's actually the easier one of the group that they put
Yeah.
out,
Oh
just because
wow.
you can sort of go and I mean it sort of some parts of it are harder than other parts. Like they've introduced this weird timing to a lot of the boss fights where it's like
Hmm.
they're like, oh, I'm about to hit you. It's coming. I'm winding up. You ready? Or done. And then it's like you go, how am I supposed to prepare for something like that? So they hit you with that. But then it's easier on the side that it's open world and you can go, okay, but I'll just come back to this guy once I'm a little bit stronger. I'll go, find some caves or
Yeah,
something and do all that. But yeah, but that's my bread and butter. I love those kinds of games. Just
that's awesome.
being punished and having to figure out
Yeah.
how best to play and like
Well,
develop new strategies.
I think my problem was like I have no frame of reference. I'm like, should I be fighting this guy or not? I
Yeah.
don't know. Like, am I? Because there's no information at all. Like, I
Yeah.
guess I should
It's
come back
very,
because
very
I'm
open.
having a problem here. But I'm sick of clearing out this
Well,
camp over and over.
that comes
Yeah.
from like playing tons of games that aren't finished in the last like decade or so,
Yeah.
and it's like I never really try to look stuff up when I'm playing a game. I try to figure it out, but then lo and behold, playing Skyrim for I don't know how many million hours, you're like, oh, this is one of those bugs. Shit, there goes 4 hours, and trying to play Fallout 4 and trying to get the Steel Brotherhood thing because you get this drop ship, whatever, and there's an unfinishable quest if you like open this cabinet, and it's like, what?
Yeah,
So
it's hard to know
that's
where
why
you
I don't
stand
play 'em.
nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always wanted to try the Dark Souls, but I'm like, I don't really like replaying content when it's abusive. But I think that one I like
Mhm.
the idea because it's a challenge. But I didn't. It's kind of like I never got into Minecraft because it's like Lego the video game. I'm either gonna
Right.
hate it or I'm never gonna leave the computer like ever. Like I would
Yeah,
think I would get obsessed with a couple of those games. I'm like, just no money.
it happens. I've got friends with like, even though like Dark Souls 3, it's a single player game, although there's online functionality like there is with Elden Ring. I've got friends that have like 800 hours in it because they'll just keep replaying it over and over, which blows my mind because I love it and I've got a few hundred hours myself. But every time I complete a run, I'm like, all right, I'll do this again. Maybe in like a year, I'll get the itch to jump into it. But I have buddies who are just like, all right, let's go again. I'm like, you just beat it. Like, we
Yeah.
just beat the final boss right now. You're going to start up New Game Plus or start a new run through, but it's just that kind of game. And if you do jump into one, I would recommend like Dark Souls 3 because Elden Ring does have a lot of what the hell am I supposed to be doing right now? Like if you're not used to that sort of
I'd
thing.
like a frame of reference. Yeah,
Yeah, there's nothing.
that's
And
probably good.
it's interesting because in Elden Ring, when I started playing it, the one thing they do have to show you where you're supposed to go is on the map. They have these like yellow beams of light leading from Grace Point to Grace Point for like the main story. So I just started
Mhm.
following that initially, and it brought me to a boss that turns out was like the boss of the whole first zone. That
I think that's what
you're
happened to
expected,
me.
yeah, you're expected to clear out a lot of it before you beat him. And I got there and I was like, just another day in a Souls game. Let's do it. And it took me like an hour and a half to beat him, not realizing I was supposed to have done 10 other things before I got there. But I enjoyed it anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Nice.
it would be nice if they. I mean, I guess they just say, go do whatever you want. That's the idea. But that was such a departure from the other Souls games, which is why I would recommend like a Dark Souls 3 because that's way more linear, right? There isn't just figure it
Gotcha.
out. You can't really go in the wrong direction. You have to sort of move along the path they set for you. So it's always the appropriate challenge for where you are, which is good.
Nice.
It's more like a tutorial for the Elden Ring than
Mm,
maybe I'll start with that someday. Like I get really addicted to games and certain things. Like there's certain things scratches. We used to play Phantasy Star Online back in the
mhm.
Dreamcast. I had like 2,000 hours on one character, and then like when you look back at the game now, it's kind of like how did I spend that much time? But it was like one of the first online experiences, and I remember like my memory card got corrupted and I lost the character, and I was so pissed.
Oh, that's brutal.
And it's like just sitting there in the middle of the night. Yeah, you're just like dejected. And then I'm like, well, guess I better remake the same character. And then I sat there for like 3 days without sleeping. Like Not even kidding. Lightning struck a tree outside in our backyard, and it fell and almost hit the house. I remember sitting there on the living room floor like day two, going like, and then just playing. My dad coming in and being like, he came out like, I don't remember if it was in the morning or what, and he's like, what happened to the tree? And I was like, oh, it fell over a couple hours ago. He's like, what? You didn't come get me? And I'm like, no, this is important. Like, I'm like brain dead.
Yeah, I don't have time for that right now, Dad.
Yeah. But I didn't. Yeah. This has got to be finished.
That's funny.
I have to be careful. Like, even Warcraft didn't hook me that hard.
Warcraft never got me that hard either. I mean, I got into it, but by the time I stopped finishing it, or by the time I finished playing it, which was like 6 months after I started playing it, I was so burnt out on it that I couldn't play another game like that for like 10 years.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah, I tried a few, and I was like, "This is just Warcraft." I just see Warcraft in like every MMO I play now. Like with the, there's a few out there that set themselves apart, but I'm just like, I can't do this again. This whole loot treadmill, just running the same content over and over thing, it just gets tedious after a while.
And I love the art style in Warcraft. So every once in a while, I get the itch to go like start a character and just like hang out, like do the low level stuff. I don't care about doing the same content, but then it's like,
yeah. I feel that. I really like the Horde stuff, like hanging out in Undercity. It's just like a cool vibe.
So with the video game aspect, coming back to Bocce Ball, what was the main boss fight you had to do with the game? Like, what was the biggest challenge that you came across?
It's probably just the physics stuff in general, because like I said, it's not really like one big thing. It's a lot of small things, and then having to tweak everything until it feels right, because it's, like I said, it's all smoke and mirrors. Like, there's math involved, and I throw that in there, to try to get the best approximation of what it should do in real life. But then there's still tweaking beyond that, because it's never perfect the way that the systems can handle it. There's always some bit of error there, or some other feature that you have to end up tweaking, and it I mean, I don't mind it, but it's just time consuming. It's just a lot of trial and error, basically going, does that feel right? Nah, I should probably make this roll a little bit further, or this thing should bounce a little harder off that sort of thing, until it does what I expect it to do, basically. And it's just a lot of refining. But there's not much, really, because it's such a simple game. Like I said, just throw some balls and get them close to each other, keep track, and let people talk to each other. That's pretty much the whole game.
Nice. Simple's good. So, I don't know, you may not even know your plans for like how long you'll be working on this. I'm just kind of curious. So you've made kind of like I don't know if you'd call it action RPG or RPG with I'm forgetting the name of the other game you made. Sorry.
Vengeful Rites. Yeah, I guess you call it an action RPG. Yeah.
And so now you've made like a social game. Like, when you're kind of calling it quits on Bocce Ball, if that happens, maybe it won't. Is there any like other style you're looking to play or make, or anything like that?
Got a bunch of ideas for games I'd love to make. They sort of depend, because the goal with Bocce Time, well, there's two goals, right? Obviously, I wanted to just make a bocce game, primarily just for me and my friends, because I remembered playing that one on PlayStation, going, "Oh, this would be awesome! This is such a perfect fit for VR. Like, I'm surprised it's not already out there. So I'll do it." And then got it made. And now the new goal with it now is I would love to get on the official Oculus store, right? Like every game that's on App Lab. Yeah. So if I can get on the official Oculus store, that'll be a game changer, both for the game and for me, because if I can, then this is total speculation, I could be wrong about this. My understanding is that it works kind of like a console, where I'll be assigned a representative that I'll have communication with, that I can potentially pitch future games to. And if that's the case, then I'll be able to go for larger multiplayer things that require a player base, basically, like a competitive style game, because I'll be able to get it on the store to begin with, and then I'll, that just opens up my options a lot. But either way, I think my next one will probably also be a multiplayer game. But there's the thing about multiplayer games that I like about them as a developer is, like with Vengeful Rites, I loved making it, but I can't really go back and play it and enjoy it fully. I mean, I still have fun with it because I like the combat and the magic and all of that stuff. But I know
Yeah.
every puzzle, I know every boss, I know the placement of every enemy and exactly what their brains are doing. So it's like there's no, there's not much for me to have to figure out. But multiplayer games like Bocce, I can enjoy it just as much as the next person who plays it, right? Because it's just a skill thing and social. So I really like developing that so I can actually fully enjoy the thing I've made instead of like a sort of watered down version of it.
That makes sense.
Yep.
So I'm always curious with VR in general, because I know most devs are the same, where they probably have like hundreds of ideas in their head, and while they're working on one thing, they're thinking of a couple other.
Mm-hmm.
Have you had any ideas that you're like, this would be great, I just got to finish this, and then by the time you have like more time to start the next project, or has a time come with actual VR is like just the hardware like changed enough to where you're like, oh, I can't do that anymore, or I'd have to change a bunch of stuff? Like, has it grown too fast or not fast enough? Or
I don't think it's grown too fast, but there are like it was sort of unfortunate timing with like Vengeful Rites because I started working on it in late 2017, like the beginning of 2018, and the quest hadn't been announced yet. And had it been, had I known about it, that would have been a huge factor in the development of the game because I would have obviously tried to make it so that it could work on that if possible.
yeah,
And I didn't because it was like it had already been out for like a year by the time the quest came out. So that changed things. But no, I don't have much issue with just staying laser focused on something. I'm the type of person I obsess over it, so it's not done until it's done. And
gotcha.
then so I might have like a thought. All that said, Bocce actually was the thing that pulled me away from something else because after Vengeful Rites, I was like, all right, I need to brush up on certain things. I need to learn how to do better lighting and visuals and stuff in my games, and also I want to learn to do multiplayer because I had never made a multiplayer game before this. And I actually started on a non-VR game, which was going to be sort of a like tabletop co-op RPG roguelike kind of thing. And I was having
Cool.
fun with it, but then I started playing a lot of Walkabout, and I was like, oh, Bocce would be perfect for VR. And I was like, I could make that way faster than I could make this this other non-VR game I was talking about. Like I could pump Bocce out in like a couple of months. And so I just totally switched over to that because making games in VR is just so much cooler also than the non-VR games. Like the non-VR, I was like, oh, this will have, potentially a much larger market that it's available to because so few people have VR in reality, right? Even if you include the Quest, like compared to the Steam, it's still single percentage points of the market.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Bocce thing pulled me away. I was like, I can knock that out quick. I know it's going to be fun because as long as I don't mess it up. Like if I can do a faithful recreation of Bocce and have it have sort of the same social aspect of Walkabout and that same ease of use, then it'll be fun. So I'm just going to jump into that. And I'm glad I did because I'm having a lot of fun with it and it seems like a lot of people are enjoying it.
Yeah. I have a blast. Like I've only played actual humans a couple times so far. I've played a lot of AI because I just hop in when I have 20 minutes and
Sure.
do a match, and I really enjoy it. Like I can't fathom. I mean, I know there's reasons and stuff, but like it looks so good, it plays so well. Like I don't know why like Meta doesn't reach out to devs like you when you have such a good product more. Like, can we put this on the store instead of like you having to like fight for it? It just blows my mind.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It used to be that you could apply for the main store directly, and then they would have their whole sort of interview process and go through it, and they would let you know, whether or not it was a good fit. But they did away with that like a year and a half ago, pretty shortly after the Quest 2 came out, I think. And now it's just unless you have a contact at Oculus directly or a publisher maybe that can get in contact with them, you pretty much just have to go the App Lab route and hope that they take notice. And I have no idea what's required for them to take notice. I think it's like a certain number of sales or reviews if you're a free-to-play game. But once you hit a certain point, I assume, then they get a flag in their system that says, hey, take a look at this and consider maybe if it would be a good fit. But I really do feel like this game is an absolutely perfect fit for the main store. It's just super casual, simple. it runs well, like you said. It's easy to understand and play. A fair amount of the people who are playing the game that are in our Discord, which you should join, by the way, because it makes it a lot easier if you want to find people to play with. You got to looking for group channel and stuff like that.
Yeah.
A fair amount of people who play it are, older folks. They're like, we've got like people in their 70s that are playing the game because it's such a simple concept. Can you figure out how to release a button to throw a ball? Then you're good. Like it's not, there's not much to it. So I really feel like it's a perfect fit for the main store. And hopefully, if the game continues to do pretty well, they will eventually reach out. I've actually seen a few games just recently get brought over to the main store, so that gives me hope.
Yeah. And it was funny because, App Lab was kind of they kind of worked with side quests to bring things over, and they're like, oh, here's our App Lab. And as soon as that popped up, that process you were talking about, I think it was right at the same time where that, we're done with that. Just go to App Lab and we'll let you know.
Yeah, I think it was just same time thing, which is really unfortunate. I mean, I understand it because everybody wants to be on the quest, right? It's basically like the Switch of VR.
Yep.
So like there would be too much for them to try to. I'm sure they're getting thousands of games, every year.
I would be curious because I have heard this from other people, is like not insider information or anything, but like kind of overheard conversations. Like when you go to like customizable avatars and that, I think that is one thing they look at. I've heard.
I'm not sure if it is or not, but I feel like that could definitely be a factor. Like I could totally see them looking at it now and seeing these pill people, and as endearing as they are, going, that's not really the quality threshold we're trying to promote on our main store. So I'm hoping you're right. And once this park is in the character customization, that they'll give it another look. Or like I said, maybe it is a sales threshold thing, and hopefully we'll reach that. We'll see what happens.
But I mean, their avatars are shit. So I would take your avatars over there. Like I play a lot of like the 4VR games, the bowling and the darts, and I'm the cornhole hasn't come out yet, and I can say this without getting in trouble. I've been playing that a lot lately, and I fucking hate Meta's avatars so much. And those games use them, and the games are great, but it's so hard to like look at myself in those games. I'm like, ugh.
I haven't actually used Meta's avatars, but I don't plan to go with that anyway, just because the game's crossplay, right? So ideally you want people to be able to play and look like each other, whether they're on Steam or Oculus or wherever it might be.
It's just, if that is a thing, like I mentioned, it's just like hypocritical because theirs are just shit. Like I can't stand them. Like I rarely like get down on something. I'm mostly positive, like anyone we talk to and all that, but those fucking avatars.
Maybe they'll get better. Just see your boy Zuck, what was like a week ago, he put out that little screenshot of him in front of the Eiffel Tower with the old avatar he had there, and people were like, this is trash, why would you show this? And like 2 days later he was like, no, I swear we can do it better, look here, this is a new version, a lot better, right? And we're like, all right, I guess that's okay.
I mean, they're at the end of the day, they're just avatars, but people, like just from guests we have, like avatars are a huge thing, and I get it, but I don't care. These are fine to me. Like, but
fair. Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. Or I think it's like
still make them hideous.
Yeah, on the priority list, like avatars are pretty low for me. Right? Like, I mean, I like them too, and being able to customize it, but it's like once I customize it, I'm never going to look at it again, right? Like it doesn't really matter. That's for other people. Like, sure, it's cool if I look cool, or and like Walkabout, I want to have the cool clubs and cool balls because I'm looking at that stuff at least. But as far as the avatar goes, I don't really mind so much, which is why it's not in Bocce Time to start. Because, like I said, so many people don't even know what Bocce is. And I was like, this game might just not sell at all, right? So I'm not going to spend a month or a few weeks putting in customizable avatars when no one's going to end up buying the game anyway. And if I need to, I could just scrap that. And then when the game comes out, if it doesn't sell, at least I didn't waste time on that. And if it does, then I'll add that in a later update, because I don't think anyone is really too upset about having a jelly bean for a head. Like if you're playing the game, you don't really care what your head looks like. It's fine.
They can add fun, but it's function over form at that point. So.
100%. Yeah.
I was just shocked. One of those games at first, like you had to use those avatars, and I'll shut up after this, I promise. But I got something that looks somewhat like me, not even close really, but as close as I could get. I could not find one single piece of clothing at all that I would wear in real life. Like none of it. Like it's all. I don't know if I want to say douchebaggy, but
Sure.
douchebaggy
That's
clothing
that
in my
showy,
opinion. Like
that the peacock style, because that's the whole point of an avatar, right? You want it to stand out and be eye catching, I guess. You're not going to wear
I'm
just
just
a
like I don't.
chill white polo.
I couldn't even just find like a t-shirt and jeans. Like it was just all this stuff. I'm like I would never wear any of this. I hate this. God damn it.
Yeah, I think the
Anyway.
avatars when I make them for Bocce Time will be like walkabout, where it's you'll have basically like a collar, maybe some shoulders, but you're not really going to even have like shirts
Yeah.
and all that. It'll just be a head, probably like some glasses options, different hairstyles, maybe some hats, and then that'll be the bulk of it.
And avatars can add a lot of fun, but again, it's like you don't see yourself, especially in VR. What? We just started working with Market VR. What was that app they're in? It's not
Altspace.
Altspace. Thank you. I keep thinking everything's VR chat or Altspace.
Mhm.
And the avatars in Altspace are really neat, and I think I did a really good job on mine. But then I forgot about it. Like, I just don't. That doesn't. Nah.
But to be
that's fine.
fair, like Wookie and I are brothers. For anyone that didn't know that, when we hang out in VR, like right now, I feel like I'm in the same room you guys, like you're saying, and we're having a conversation. I always feel that like that with Wookie because in real life he's nowhere near me anymore. He lives down south. I live up north. But when he did have an Altspace, that avatar looked a lot like him. Like it did make more of a connection with me. Just felt like that even more. Like I was next to my brother. Even more sounds silly, but it's not. So I mean,
No,
it
it
is kind
definitely
of for
works
other
that way.
people, but that's the
But
thing.
that's like the cream on top. You got to get the shit fun.
Right.
Yeah, I preach that all the time because I've seen so many games just try to throw a ton of stuff at you all at once, and none of it is up to par. And then you go, oh, it would be better if you just focused on the core of the game here and just got that, pristine, and then put in the other stuff that doesn't really matter as much. Nobody's playing something long term for avatar customization. Like
you're like
you
look
said,
at my cool
you do
stupid
that
hip hop
briefly.
shoes, but I can't get past the loading screen.
Yeah, you do it briefly and then you're done. Like I've spent way too many hours playing Rocket League, and customizing my car is like an afterthought at most. Right? I've spent maybe two hours of my entire several thousand hours playing the game, messing with my car, and I couldn't care less about it. Honestly, it's just like, yeah, it looks kind of cool, and then I never think of it again.
You got to focus on the core. Like I'm a huge person. I love character customization. Don't get me wrong. We don't have avatars here yet, but like something like Black Desert Online. I remember girlfriend wanted to try that, so we were tinkering with it, and I made 2 characters, and they look fucking cool. The character creator in that game is like top notch. Some of the combat, it's almost like fighting game combat. So instead of having to memorize like all these 50 keys, you can just use some combos. But the rest of the game was so complicated. I'm like, damn it! I have the game installed still to this day, and I even do keep like pinging the update because of like delete your stuff when they come out with certain updates. They were emailing me, so I just launched the game every once in a while just not to lose those characters because the customizers so well. But it's like,
I remember when it came out, there was a lot of videos of people recreating like various celebrities and the character creation because they were like, look at that's Angelina Jolie, that's her, she's right there, she's in the game, and it's like,
you can do a browser thing,
just like her.
And like, you can browse other people's character submissions. You can like share it to the community.
Oh, that's cool.
Like it was like Brad Pitt and shit. I'm like, what the?
Yeah, they're like, oh, it's your boy Heihachi from Tekken. He's in there now.
Yeah.
Was it Legends of the Fall, Brad Pitt? Are we talking here? Or
I just don't know that movie. Get out of my face.
I almost don't want to play it when you said that.
I think it was more like Snatch. I have no idea.
Oh, that's cool too.
Yeah, Snatch Brad Pitt is among the best Brad Pitts. What the fuck? One caravan's got a fucking wheels.
That's awesome.
Good movie.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
God.
What topics haven't we covered yet?
Yeah.
We've been everywhere.
I don't know. Feel like
John Wick,
we've run the gambit.
Yeah.
Oh, fun.
Well, I mean, we've kind of hit our hour, and we can always talk forever, but we don't want to like hog your day. But
Yeah, same.
is there anything we didn't get to that you wanted to chat about anything VR or the game or?
No, not really. Nothing comes to mind. I mean, I guess I should probably do the responsible solo developer thing and plug my other my other game. Vengeful Rites is it's on sale right now on Steam. If you have
Nice.
a gaming PC, you could play on. It's I think it's awesome, and you know, it's well reviewed. I think it's like 94% positive on Steam. So
Wow.
check it out. There's a free demo. You know, it carries right into the main game if you decide to play it. And yeah, it's about it. And check out Bocce Time. Tell your friends. You know, leave a review or rating if you haven't yet. That helps a lot.
Yeah. Links to both games on all platforms will be in the show notes of the video and audio, whatever you're listening or watching.
Appreciate
if anyone
it.
ever needs a human to play, if I'll try to get your Discord link too and get that in the
Yeah,
notes.
absolutely. I should have plugged that too. Definitely.
Or hit us up
Discord,
here,
especially if you want to go into a tournament.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Or hit us up here. I'll play anytime. Like,
Cool.
it's fun to hang out.
Same.
I play with the playtest or Let's Talk Oculus guys. We play a lot of games every now and then.
Oh,
so yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah. Yeah, they're cool dudes. I mean, after we did that podcast for them, which was like a half hour, right? We talked for another half hour just chilling out there.
Yeah. You're very
Cool
chill.
dudes.
It kind of feels like I've never gotten to talk to you. PJ's got to talk to you, but like after about 10 minutes, it felt like I've already known you. Like,
yeah, I'm a pretty open book, I think. You know, just
well, you said Witcher 3, so Wookiee's nerd
there
boner
you
went
go.
off,
Yeah,
and
it's
well,
just
even like
instant
that, but
bond.
like, it just feels like you're very familiar to me already. So
Fair.
it's fun to hang out. So
Yeah, just chilling. I had a good time just hanging out, shooting the shit. Barely. I feel like, I mean, we talked a lot about the game, but most of the conversation seems like it was just general banter about just gaming and being gamers and development.
yeah, the fun part.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm all about it.
It's probably hard to explain in like every bit of how you made everything in the game versus just like plug in the cool points and why people should play and go discover it. And
Yeah,
then what do you
be super boring for people too who aren't into development to be like, oh, this is my locomotion code. If you're interested, this is how I do this.
Just pop up some C#. This is the collision
just have
matrix.
Visual Studio pop up, just walk you through line by line. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be over here like.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people would be. I'm sure some people would be interested in that sort of stuff, especially
Oh yeah.
would-be devs. I know a lot of people want to get into indie development, which you absolutely should if you have an opportunity to. I love it. I can't imagine doing anything else now, except maybe not being indie, maybe working on a team. But I love the lifestyle of being able to just work on something myself and not have to feel rushed or ever have crunch, you know, unless I do it to myself. But I tend not to.
I have to imagine like you release this game and you're like, I fucking did this. Like maybe not 100%, but at least 90 or so. I don't know, but
that does happen.
I fucking
sometimes.
Created that.
It does happen sometimes when I'm playing with my buddies and having a good time. I'm like, this is awesome. It's like I'm just having fun playing this game. Oh, and I made it. Like that's really cool.
Yeah. Because if you guys have such fun playing it, like that just has to be mind blowing. I would think to be like, hey guys, can we take a moment? Like if I didn't make this, we wouldn't be having this fun right now. Like,
shut up,
everyone! If you could just praise me for a moment, if we could just take a second and just realize that I did this for you, you're welcome.
From now on, when I enter the game, I need a little chant for at least a couple seconds. Like,
yeah.
Sorry, would you ever put that in the game? Like recognizes your account only, and like people.
I was just going to say that. Yeah, every time I load in now, I'll have a crown. Once I put the character customization in there, and they go, "Oh, where'd you get that cool crown?" You're like, "Oh, it's super exclusive."
Beating you, and you just push a button, and all their balls go flying off the court.
You're
yeah,
like, just dev hacks.
Yeah.
Just, I throw the ball, it just disappears, and then just spawns sitting on top of the Polino, perfectly stationary.
I was going to say, like,
crack.
Pretty good.
It'd be a fun game mode, or at least a fun option for someone's taking too long. Like like kind of a rush mode where like you gotta throw it quick because your ball will explode or something like that. Like,
I was thinking about something similar, not necessarily the time thing. That's pretty good. But I was like, oh, it'd be cool to add a mode where, like, if you just hit somebody else's ball hard enough, it just demolishes it. Just take it right out of Rocket League. Just a demo, and be like, yeah, that blocker's in the way, so I'm gonna destroy it. Like, that would be pretty cool.
that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
All right,
a lot of possibilities.
Yeah. Again, we always keep guests way after we finish, so we'll try not to do that.
It's fair.
But again, everyone try this game. It is fun on either Quest or PC. Like, it works well on both. I highly recommend it. And again, click the link, try it out. We'll play with you.
Play the demo. Is there a demo for this?
Play a demo for Vengeful Rites for sure. You got nothing to lose, and it's on sale.
Join the Discord.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks everyone for hanging out watching. We'll catch you next time.
Take care. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, anytime.
Well, my right hand is dead. I got you.